We're coming to you from the DraftKings.com podcasting studios. DraftKings.com, America's one-day fantasy sports site, where it's like a new season every time you play. DraftKings.com.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Serena Williams lost today to Roberta, sorry. Didn't mean to call you Roberto. I can understand how somebody might find that to be offensive. I promise you it was an honest mistake. I tried to get all into the accent, and then I just went there. It's like Roberta Flack.
Right.
It's like Roberta Flack. And much like Roberta Flack, she killed Serena softly. Shannon, you were not able to watch the match.
I picked up on what you just did just now.
Well, yeah. Heard he sang a good song. Heard he had a style. So I didn't see the first set where Serena had blown her away. I think I started watching right around the end of the second set, and it got to the third, and Serena wasn't playing well, but that wasn't really the part that caught my eye. Basically, if you watch that match between those two, it was like watching Jamie Moyer shut down the 27 Yankees. Because Vinci was hitting it with nothing but junk, Shannon. Nothing but junk. It was Ephus pitches. I mean, it was all off speed. All off speed. Like, you ever play basketball against somebody where they do stuff like jump off the wrong leg, and you just can't figure out what to do. Awkward, box lefty type stuff. Like, that's what it was. It was all these shots with this funny spin and everything else. You had Serena running all over the place. I can't imagine how frustrating it must have been to play against her.
I was going to say, Manu Ginobili has made an entire career out of doing stuff like that, jumping off the wrong foot. He's a lefty. I can imagine that's what Vinci was doing today to Serena.
Yeah, Dwayne Wade's the king of that, actually. Every time I watch Dwayne Wade, it's like watching somebody play spades. And he just stays making these jacks walk. Like, how did this jack take this book? I don't understand it. Except the difference is Wade is making those jacks walk, and then the next thing you know, boom, there's the deuce of diamonds. Like, why'd you just played the jack? If you had that, why'd you play the jack? Dog, Roberto Vinci had nothing but jacks. Like, that's all it was. Jack, let me throw out this 8 of clubs. Let me throw out this 7 of hearts. Like, and it just kept working. Like, it just kept working over and over again. I'd have been frustrated. I'd have been so incredibly frustrated to watch that. Because it was a gradual process, and you were like, okay, wait a minute. Serena's not quite coming back here. You
kept telling yourself that eventually, okay, she's gonna come back, she's gonna make a run, she's gonna take this game, she's gonna take this set, and it'll be over. Yeah. That never happened.
Like, those games where, like, the 1AA mess around and get an upset in football against one of the big schools where they hang in, or like the NCAA tournament. That's what it felt more like. Like in the NCAA tournament, like when Butler was going through. Where you're like, man, there's no way in the world that they could possibly keep winning. How in the world? They can't shoot. And then next thing you know, it's 55-53, and the buzzer just sounded. Butler going to the championship game. How did that happen? That's what we got in that match. It was really entertaining. The crowd was into it and everything. Like, I mean, it was something worth watching, certainly. I got to say though, I'm doing this show here. I'm in Miami right now. Shannon, you're in North Carolina, and we got a nice crew of people there in Bristol. And I know it's nighttime there, so you're probably not having to deal with that. But if you see some people in suits walk around the office looking a little bit salty, you got to understand what just happened to them. I'm not watching that match anymore. My Saturday just got a lot freer. Like, cool, I can focus all my energy on Oregon and Michigan State on Saturday night. I can go get something to eat in between some of those football games because suddenly my schedule got free.
Like, you know what? I'll take the scenic route today.
Yeah.
I got nothing else on my schedule.
I'm going to go post up at the beach. Like, I mean, everything got a lot freer to me. I don't see any noon kickoffs I need to be bothered with. Man, I'm going to go get some Rays, baby. Because do you know who else is in the final, Shannon? Because I don't. I just know she's from Italy.
Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah.
Apparently, this is going to do big ratings in Italy. I also saw apparently on StubHub those ticket prices for the final tomorrow went into the commode. They plummeted. But that leads to an interesting situation, Shannon. It's not like there aren't any people of Italian descent in New York City. Like,
it's a lot of them.
Yeah, you can fill this place up. It might be an audience that you're not accustomed to seeing at a tennis match, like at the U.S. Open. Like, there are certainly plenty of Italians, I'm sure, who come over for the match. But I'm not talking about Italians who come over. I'm talking about Italians from New York. Like, I love it when the Grand Slams look like, they don't play at Wimbledon on the middle Sunday, right? And I remember the first time they had to play the middle Sunday because it had been so much rain. And so that meant the tickets went to a whole lot of people who ordinarily don't get tickets. And I mean the kind of people who do the wave. Oh. They were at Wimbledon doing the wave, Shannon.
Oh, that's not good.
People got so mad at Serena for sea-walking at Wimbledon, they was up in there doing the wave. You tell me what the real issue is. Serena didn't do it at the actual tournament. They were just having the Olympics there, you know? They were doing the wave at Wimbledon. And I loved it.
In the actual tournament. At the tournament.
The actual tournament. I loved it. It's the greatest thing I'd ever seen, man. I love it when things like that happen at the country club sports. I absolutely love it. When they get a little middle class, working class humanity thrown into their games, I love it.
Hey, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's get a couple vuvuzelas out there.
Yeah, dog. Because, man, you don't realize how country club those sports are until you start looking around and seeing who's advertising stuff. J.P. Morgan, Emirates Airlines, something else really expensive I've seen on the walls. All the ball boys wearing polo.
Nice shirts, too.
You know what, I couldn't be a ball boy wearing that polo, right? Because they probably want me to wash that polo and bring it back the next day. And you got to take care of your polo. I can't be turning that polo around that fast. I need time to wash that polo by hand and to hang it up. Because Mama ain't letting me get another polo. I can't have this polo fade. I need this polo for what I really need this polo. Like, if I'm a ball boy there, that's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to go to the back and be like, hey, I left my polo at home. You guys have any extras? Hey, yeah, I just got a polo from you. Look, I spilled something on my polo. You think I could get another polo? Please? Although I do have to say, polo, while it certainly is a mark of quality, Shannon, have I told you about the fact that the city of Miami is overrun with fake polo?
Oh, really?
Dude, I see so much fake polo out here. Like, do you know how crazy it is to see somebody get out of a Ferrari wearing a U.S. Polo Association shirt? Because it happens rather often here. And I'm talking about the big horse U.S. Polo Association with USPA written underneath just to let you know that this polo is folo. Like, just in case you got confused. And you know you can always tell the difference between real polo and fake polo. The real polo horse and the man on it, he's so graceful, right? Like, doesn't it look like he just has a nice smooth when he hits the little polo ball? You know, he just looks so graceful. Dog, them other cats look like they doing polo on like they bareback riding and doing polo at the same time. Like they trying to hold on for 8 seconds. That's what all the fake polo horses and men look like. Look like that man is holding on for dear life, and that horse is trying to get that man the hell off his back. There's no grace involved in that. But they got them boys out there wearing that big face polo to go get those balls. I'm trying to imagine what my mother would do if I had, as if she ever bought me any polo shirts as a child. But if I was a kid and I had some polo, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go run after some tennis balls.
In your good clothes? Oh, no.
in your polo. Because let's be clear, that's your polo. Like, that's not one of the polos that I have. Like, that's my polo. Do you know how many polo shirts I've bought in the last, 2 or 3 years since my situation changed? I just go to the store and be like, what kind of polo you got? I never could have any of those polos before. I got all the polos, man. That's the closest I get to dress it up. I got all these polos. Y'all gonna see them. See, that's the tennis segment you waited your whole life for, ladies and gentlemen.
Bomani.
We were talking about the U.S. Open. Okay, we actually talked about a whole lot of polo.
Right.
But I think we all can relate to the polo situation, man. Polo, the only brand name nobody got a bad word to say about.
It crosses over several groups. It unites us. You know what? Polo is a uniting brand.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty funny, though, because there's all kinds of stereotypes you can draw based upon what kind of polo somebody wears.
Or how they wear their polo.
How they wear their polo was a great one. But, like, you over there in that incredibly colorful, horizontally striped polo. Okay, I got some guesses on how you get your hair cut. However, you over there with that polo sweater tied around your waist. I see you, too.
Or around your neck, on your shoulders.
Yeah. I know that dude. Hey, you over there with that polo that ain't really such the shining polo because your polo came from TJ Maxx. That's me, by the way. Just to be clear, I'm not throwing shade at anybody else. Hey, man, it's got the horsey on it. 888-729-3776 is the telephone number. So, Shannon, it was kind of funny after Serena's match. Had a lot of people on Serena could not do what Steffi Graf did, which was win the quote-unquote calendar Grand Slam. And I think that's a funny point to bring up because we have to acknowledge that the calendar notion of it is a bit arbitrary, right? It's like whatever the 12 months are that you point out. Like, this isn't like a basketball season where there's like 4 or 5 months in between or something like that, and then you come back around.
Right.
There's like 2 months off, and then a new season starts. Like, the calendar just runs around. The tennis tour pretty much runs year-round. I don't see any difference between winning in one calendar year versus winning 4 in a row. Like, I think we're basically talking about the same thing there. Because the trickiest thing about winning that is you got to go from playing on clay to playing on grass in a month to make it happen. You pull that off, I don't think we really got that much to talk about. What Serena did this last time, and she's done this twice, right? But it is basically an impossible question to answer, to me, which player is better, Steffi Graf or Serena Williams. The difficulty of it is Serena's so much better than everybody else that's playing right now that it is very difficult to tell how much of that is Serena and how much of that is them. And most of us honestly don't pay enough attention to have a great answer to that question. We just don't. Like, if you were to ask most people who was the number 2 seed in the women's draw at the U.S. Open, how many people you think could legitimately answer that? Because I can't. Shannon, you got anything?
I got nothing.
I'll go with Martina Hingis. That's right, she don't play no more.
Lindsay Davenport.
Jennifer Capriati. Justine Arden. Isn't that what it was? Hey, man, look, I got nothing for you. Like, I readily acknowledge that. I can help you frame the question, though. Like, I don't have the answers for you, but I can help you frame the question. The difficulty of it is, when you see somebody as dominant as Serena Williams is right now, how much of that is her and how much of that is the rest of them? Then you've got other weird variables in there. The Monica Seles factor for Steffi Graf, right? That Monica Seles came, Monica Seles was balling. Don't forget, though, Steffi Graf had a Wimbledon final in the middle of Monica Seles' run where she just dominated her. Whereas I remember that match because they were telling Seles she couldn't grunt anymore. And then she went out there in the final not grunting and got waylaid. Just got blasted, right? But then the stabbing happened. And suddenly Steffi's number 1 peer was gone. But you can make the same argument on the other side that Martina Hingis retired when she was 22 years old. With all the wins that she had, right? Like, I think it was 2001, she went through the Australian Open final and beat both Williams sisters along the way. Serena also has this career that's really, it's got this interesting bimodal sort of distribution where she was really, really good young. Like, at that young age, we expect tennis players to be young. And then there's what's happened in her 30s where there's not a lot of precedent for that. Like I've said, I remember I was on Around the Horn like 2 or 3 years ago, and they asked if Serena was finally going downhill, and I answered yes because I could look at a calendar. Like, this was just about the time that people went downhill. It hasn't happened. It hasn't. And so in the midst of this Grand Slam, we've almost lost sight of the fact, Serena Williams had won this thing 3 years in a row, right? Like, coming into this was going to be her 4th. Like, if Roberta Vinci was somebody that we had heard of, we'd be talking about her beating Serena in a similar way that we talked about John McEnroe beating Bjorn Borg after Bjorn Borg had walked through Wimbledon all those years, right? Like, what Serena's pulled off is so far beyond just kind of this novelty of a calendar slam or anything else. It is the idea of being great in these two different periods with a whole lot of hell brought on by life in between. A lot of things coming up. Her sister getting killed, illness, injuries, like all these different things have come up, and you still have this career that stands where it is right now. It's very difficult to compare that to anybody, Steffi Graf or anyone else. Now, the thing I'd say is, people I trust have made the argument that the current field is stronger than the field that Steffi Graf played against. 538 had a post that seemed to indicate otherwise. They used something called ELO. I don't really understand the math behind it, but they were able to develop a model to try to help them figure this out. And they put it as though there were better players when Graf played than now when Serena Williams played. The one reason I don't get so caught up in that part of it, I almost in a lot of ways assume, unless there's just a significant change in depth, right? Unless there's a significant change in depth, it's like the Jim Brown argument, right? Where people talk about the guys that are out now, yeah, they're probably bigger, faster, and stronger than Jim Brown, but if Jim Brown was playing right now, you think Jim Brown wouldn't be in the same weight room? Like, you think they wouldn't be giving Jim Brown that creatine or whatever it is? Like, Jim Brown would be on the same stuff as these cats. Now, imagine that for a second. Jim Brown on the same stuff as these dudes. Steffi Graf. Imagine Steffi Graf with the racket technology that they have right now. And we don't really have a great way to imagine what Serena Williams would be with the racket technology that they had before. Like, it's very difficult to do. But people seem to be really invested in the answers on this one. And I feel pretty confident saying that most of those people don't have any idea what the hell they're talking about. And look, I'm not throwing stones at you when you say that, because I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to this discussion. Like, I'm not coming at you with the answers here. I'm just giving you a way to think about it. Because Steffi Graf won the Grand Slam when I was 8 years old. What am I look like sitting up here trying to tell you who was better, her or Serena Williams? What would I look like? How? Like, how would I be able to do that? I can't do it. I'm not in a position to do that, right? But a lot of people really want to get in here and make these arguments. Like, as soon as Serena lost, she's not as good as Steffi Graf. Like, is that just the answer you want it to be?
Really quick, does losing this match affect Serena's legacy at all?
No, I don't think so. And the big reason is, by the time it's all said and done, I think she's going to wind up with more Grand Slams than anybody else, which then eliminates all the rest of the stuff. Like, if she wins more Grand Slams than anybody else, nobody's going to care that she didn't win a calendar Grand Slam. Like, that's the big joker right there.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
All guests join us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, including our next guest. I worked with him when I did a job in Canada at a station called The Score. He does a podcast. Now he does picks. He does fantasy stuff. I asked him how to introduce him, and he did not bother to tell me. Cam Stewart, I'm trying to give you some plug, man. You got to tell him where to find you.
Oh, hey, Bomani, how you doing, man? We miss you up in Toronto. No, you can find me anywhere, AM 640. I'm giving horse picks, football picks, Canadian Football League picks, whatever you got. A couple kids racing in the gym, I'll bet on it. You know, it's absolutely fantastic. And we got a gig at the Fantasy Sports Network, too, Friday nights with former Score employee Gabe, the Wildman Morency. So we're doing some fantasy stuff with DraftKings at 6 o'clock, and we do a pick show with our buddy Brian Blessing from Vegas at 11 p.m. Eastern on Friday at the Fantasy Sports Network.
All right, that's what man Cam's doing. One thing I used to love about working with you, I could always ask you to find out about any obscure college football team. When you told me you knew East Carolina football, I knew you were dedicated.
Oh, I love the Pirates, man. Back in the day, it was fantastic. That team was so good to me, Bomani. I remember when they were like 31-point underdogs against Miami, when Miami had those awesome teams, and I was like, man, I love East Carolina. They were coming through. Marcus Crandell, he was my guy, and I follow a lot of these guys in the Canadian Football League now. I'm watching the Argos and Ticats because that Florida Atlantic-Miami game was in a delay.
Hey, man, Cam Stewart, catch him. He told you where to find him all these places, man. All right, let's talk about some of these NFL picks. We got the Bills and the Colts. How you feeling about that one?
You know what? A lot of people are like Andrew Luck and the Colts. You got to bet this game. Kind of a weird line. The Bills are getting 2.5. I love Buffalo, Bomani. You know, used to be down in Toronto in the area, you know, Western New York, big Buffalo crowd there. And I'll tell you, people in Ontario love the Bills as well. I think Rod Taylor's going to be okay. I love the situation. Their defense is mean. Rex Ryan in openers, too. This guy's 8-1 ATS. This guy, I'll tell you, I think the Bills are going to be, surprisingly, their offense is going to be better. I know their defense is lethal. And Andrew Luck and the Colts, you can't take enough. The guy's one of the best quarterbacks, him or Aaron Rodgers in the league, but on the road, hostile environment, week 1, I think the Bills are going to win this game outright. Let's go Buffalo.
Hey, man, now tell me this. Do you have the heart to bet on Tampa Bay and Tennessee, given that we got 2 rookie quarterbacks?
Well, Monty, you know me, I'm a bit of a degenerate. You know, I'm kind of one of those guys, I have a gig at Shoeless Joe's. It's a sports bar in Toronto, and usually if the baseball and football games aren't going well, I headed off to the back room in the OTB to bet some horse racing tracks. So, yes, I do actually have a take on this game. I love Tampa Bay. I don't believe in Tennessee. It's 3 points right now. I'd love to see it at 2.5 so I can get that field goal cover, but I believe Jameis Winston is going to be okay in this game. I'm not sure about Mariota. Texas, they're a train wreck. Tennessee is a train wreck this year. I actually believe a lot of people are betting on Tennessee. I'm going to go with the slight favorite in this game. And you want to talk about another toilet bowl game? I like the Jaguars. Jacksonville as 4-point dogs against Carolina. Huge injury problems at receiver. I know Funchess, even he's banged up. We know they don't have Benjamin. I believe in Blake Bortles. I liked him in college, and I think he's actually going to have a comeback year. So give me the dog and the Jaguars, too.
All right, we're talking to Cam Stewart doing some NFL picks. Got the Cardinals and the Saints. How you feeling?
This is an interesting game because the Cardinals don't seem to get any respect, Bomani. You know, when it comes to home field advantages, we talk about Seattle and the 12th man. We talk about Arrowhead, even Buffalo, but going down to the desert and playing, man, that's tough. It's a real tough business. And I'll tell you, the Saints, I don't believe in this team. They're getting too old. Drew Brees really regressed from last year. I don't like this team at all. I think their defense is porous. Their secondary is weak. And as for Arizona, one thing they have is an awesome defense. They're going to be chasing Drew Brees around all day. I love that situation for them. And I'll tell you, Carson Palmer actually has looked great in the preseason. All he has to do is manage the game. They'll get their points. I think Arizona wins by 10 points in that game, and they're only 2-point favorites.
Yeah, I was about to say, the line I was looking at said they were only a 1-point favorite, and I was shocked when I looked and saw that. To your point about them not getting respect.
I was talking to our boy Rob Pizzola tonight in Toronto. I know you talked to him too, and he's a great handicapper. And he was saying, I lean Arizona too, but he's just worried about this line. He goes, that's the fishiest line of the week. Like, I probably would have made Arizona a 3.5, 4-point favorite, but it's 1. But you know what? I guess I'm a sucker. I'm taking the bait. Sign me up with the Cards.
All right, Cam Stewart coming to us live from Toronto, Canada. And look, you came up as a Seattle Seahawks fan because Dave Craig was your guy that played against the Rams. Seattle's a 4-point favorite. What you got?
Yeah, this is the thing, Bomani. When it comes to gambling, sometimes you can't go with your heart, buddy. And I know as a Seattle fan, it is a house of horrors when they go down to St. Louis. And I'm a little bit scared. Seattle's a team, they tend to get better by week 4 or week 5. So I'm going to think they're going to come into the season a little bit slow. Major problems on the offensive line. They actually have one of the worst lines in the league. I'm glad they picked up Fred Jackson. He's going to take some of the look off Lynch, but a battle of great defenses in this game. Maybe the under as well, but 4.5 is too many points. I think it's a field goal game. I think the Rams can actually win outright, and you got to like the situation for Foles. He ran that West Coast offense at Arizona. I think he's going to be comfortable. So, yeah, sign me up with the Rams. I'm not going to bet against my own team, but sometimes, hey, if you want to make money, you got to do that every once in a while. I'll take the points.
As I was about to say, Cam, be honest, by the time this game comes around, you're going to go with your heart, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Or what I do in those games with Seattle, I usually play totals or tease them. I don't go straight up on those games because I want to have a little bit of a cushion, but it's tough, Bomani. I'm still reeling from that Super Bowl. I was hosted at a sports bar that night, and I had to give away a trip to Vegas and just give it to the guy. Here's your damn trip to Vegas, man. I was so pissed off at the end of that game. I was in shock. I'm just getting over it now.
I used to hate it for you because you keep going in on the Maple Leafs, knowing what the Maple Leafs are going to do to you, Cam. You know what they were going to do to you.
The Maple Leafs, for all you people here in Miami, the Leafs suck. Don't worry, the Panthers will be better than the Leafs. That team is a train wreck. But as for the Blue Jays, these guys are on fire. The city is being gripped by Toronto Blue Jay fever right now. People are thinking they're going to go all the way and win it all this year.
All right, last one for Cam Stewart. We have got the Broncos and the Ravens. That's the big 4 o'clock game. What do you think?
Well, Bomani, I'll tell you, this game, you look at it, and the Ravens, you can make a case saying, wow, I'm getting 4.5 points with Baltimore, but sometimes we got to think outside the box a little bit. I love Peyton Manning early in the season before he gets beat up. It's also that revenge spot when Baltimore basically stole that Super Bowl away from the Broncos. It's kind of an interesting line, 4.5. I actually think Denver is going to show up and beat these guys by double digits this week. I know that's not going to be a popular pick, but I'm telling you, I think the Broncos roll week 1, and they look fantastic. Look for C.J. Henderson to have a huge game.
Hey, let me ask you one thing. You're talking to Cam Stewart. Is there any one team in the league that when you look at them, it scares you to death to pick them?
The Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
I don't know what it is about the Dolphins. Week to week, they're a hard team to get a read on. And this game against Washington, it looks too easy. I think Miami's actually going to have a great year. I think they're going to get better as the year progresses. But laying points on the road, that game just looks really fishy to me. I wouldn't be surprised if Washington won the game or it was really, really tight. So I got a slight lean to the Skins, even though I think the Dolphins are going to have a good year. I think they come out a little bit cold.
All right, this is my man Cam Stewart. He's coming to us live from Toronto. Google him. He does a whole bunch of stuff. I can't remember it all to rattle off right now. Cam, we're going to have to keep track of these things and have you come back every week, man, because this is fantastic.
We miss you, Bomani. People in Toronto are still talking about it all the time, and I know you spent some time here, but hey, who are we? I'd rather be in Miami than Toronto, too. Screw the film festival, man. You got beautiful weather all year round. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I'll try to get up there probably next year sometime after June. That's when the thaw comes around, is by June. I think I can make it to you about June.
Come in June. We'll get together with Corey Erdman. He'll probably take us to a boxing match. He's a big boxing commentator now, so we'll sit down, have a few drinks, and relax.
All right, Cam Stewart, check him out. Thanks so much, man. I'll talk to you next week.
Love you, Bomani. All the best, buddy.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
All guests join us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, including our next guest. He covers the NFL for Yahoo Sports. He was in Foxborough, Massachusetts last night for all that rainy fun. His name is Charles Robinson. Charles, what's going on?
A whole lot, Bo. How you doing, man?
Doing all right, man. Glad to have you on. And how did you enjoy yourself at the first night of the NFL season?
It was nice to actually watch some real meaningful football games. It's I think the last 8-9 months, I feel like we've been trapped in an echo chamber of scandal, whether it was real or legitimate or perceived or whatever. And I think I'm just the off season, man. It just starts to drag at some point. You're just praying for games to begin that actually mean something. And even the headphone thing, That's momentary. By the time Monday comes, we've gotten through this weekend slate of games. I think now this is where things really start to move. I'm excited.
Well, we'll get to the headphones briefly in just a second, but tell me, was it the moment they played "Hate Me Now" that you realized that was going to be one hell of a night in Foxborough?
I think even before that, when I saw Brady's attorney, Jeffrey Kessler, on the field, and he was getting mobbed, and I was like, this is insane that it's gotten to this level. And at that point, I was with Dan Wetzel, my colleague at Yahoo, and I said, I guarantee at some point something's going to happen that concerns Roger Goodell. I just don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the team will pull something kind of messed up or if the fan base will. And then obviously you had the chant, and it was wild. I mean, I've never seen an atmosphere where you've seen a crowd that unified and feeling, I don't know, slighted coming off a Super Bowl. I mean, it's not like this team was 2-14 last year. It's not like, anybody had to sit out the entire season, yet, there was just this prevailing feeling of we beat everybody and everybody was against us. I'll tell you what, they can galvanize in New England. There's no doubt about that.
All right, talking to Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports. And what did you think about the headphone situation? Because Mike Tomlin said it happens all the time. We've heard these reports before. The Patriots are indignant that anyone would ever think that they would do such a thing.
Yeah, what was interesting to me was after the game, I had a chance to get with someone I know with the Steelers, and he was following the remarks that Mike Tomlin had made, and I said, was it really this bad? I wasn't watching TV, so I didn't hear what Michelle Tafoya was reporting, and this individual basically said to me, look, the coaching staff, and particularly Mike Tomlin, was really upset because they felt like when they were trying to get this worked out, I mean, obviously they were upset that the coaches were having communication problems in the first place, but I think they felt upset that when they were trying to get it worked out, there was some request, I don't know if it came from Mike Tomlin specifically or there was just talk with the officials that, hey, you just need to turn off both sets of headsets so we can get this straightened out and nobody has any advantage and we can, if you're going to stop things or you're going to stop us to fix this problem, you got to stop them from communicating with their coaches as well. And I guess that at least didn't happen initially before things got worked out. And, I think Mike Tomlin was also emotional. At the end of that game, you watch your kicker miss a couple of field goals. You see Darius Hayward-Bay literally miss a touchdown by a toe. And even though they kicked the field goal on that drive, I mean, between the two missed field goals by Scobie and the 4 points that Darius Hayward-Bay left on the field, that's your game. That's your 10 points right there in your season-opening win in Foxborough of all places. So I think Mike Tomlin was a little upset, and emotional over the loss itself. And obviously the media asked that question, and he's still going to bring it up and be upset about it. But, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, this is something that people have been bellyaching for a while with the Patriots and Gillette in particular. There always seems to be equipment malfunctions where, concerns headphones. And, what happened today, league steps in, falls on the sword and says, look, the Patriots had nothing to do with it. And people are just going to have to decide whether they believe that or not. I think the Patriots would have been nuts to tamper with any kind of headsets or whatever coming off of everything into this game.
All right, talking to Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports. And then, of course, there was the football game where the Patriots offense looked to be humming and the Pittsburgh defense looked to be bad. How much of what we saw was about the Patriots and how much of that was about the Steelers and their defensive transition?
I think a lot of that, I think it's split. I mean, number one, Tom Brady, the consecutive, the 19 straight completions was amazing. He was as sharp as he could possibly be. He's clearly in a groove already with Julian Edelman. I was shocked that I thought by the end of the game, I'm like, Edelman looked like he had 15 receptions in that game. He missed a couple passes here and there, but, I mean, I thought, just from a standpoint of looking sharp, being ready, focused, I mean, Brady was there all the way. And, obviously Rob Gronkowski is, I don't know if the dude's out of a laboratory somewhere. I don't know if the government built him. But, I mean, this is probably the best tight end we'll ever see in our lifetime. And maybe by the time, he's finished playing, he'll have redefined the position as the ultimate blocker and receiver. But, also, look, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is bad, particularly the secondary. And it was funny because before the game, one of their I happened to see one of their staffers, and he didn't look super excited about the game. And I said, what's the problem? I said, are you excited? We're about to play a big game. And he said, look, he's like, our defense is bad. He's like, we got problems. And he brought up the kicker. And I thought Scobie was a solid replacement. But, he said, look, our defense has got a ton of work to do. That, particularly the back end of it, it's bad. They lack talent. They lack experience where it counts. And I think they're going to give up a whole heck of a lot of, yardage through the air. But conversely, as much as we like New England, they got gashed in the running game. And I can't help but think even a 90 or 80% of what Vince Wilfork was last year, not at the top of his game, they need a tree stump kind of in the middle of that defensive line. With Dominic Easley going down, they did not have it.
All right, we're talking to Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports. And you mentioned that the gashing on the running game. How encouraged was Pittsburgh to see that D'Angelo Williams could get them 125 yards? I didn't know we'd ever see that again.
See, and I think that's real. And it was funny because Jarrett Bell from USA Today was sitting with me in the press box, and Jarrett and I happened to be in Latrobe on the first or second day of their training camp, and we were there, and D'Angelo Williams was swearing up and down, look, I've cut my weight down. I'm in better shape than I've ever been. I feel amazing. And at that time, Le'Veon Bell was out for 3 games, which obviously got reduced to 2. But, D'Angelo Williams said, that kind of came up. D'Angelo Williams got angry, and he said, look, I'm not here for 3 games. I'm here for 16. I think I can still be that 1,000-yard, bell cow kind of running back. He said, don't you know anything about where I just came from? I split carries. And he basically said, look, I'm here to show I can be a centerpiece running back. And, I believe that's going to happen. And then when we watched him on the field, I think Jared and I both were looking at each other going, you know what, he does look faster. Like, he definitely looks quicker than he did when he was in Carolina. But you never know how that's going to translate over to the games. But that's as good as I've seen him in, I don't know how long, 6-7 years. I mean, he looked fantastic, and some of it, I think was the running lanes that the Patriots were allowing. But at the same time, I mean, he had burst. He looks like he's going to be a very, very competent replacement for Bell. And I think when Bell comes back, it looks to me like they're going to have a pretty solid 1-2 punch.
All right, last question for Charles Robinson at Yahoo Sports. Are the Steelers going to be able to outscore teams if that defense doesn't come around?
They need Marcus Wheaton to be more consistent than he was last night, number one. And they need Martavis Bryant, when he comes back from his 4-game suspension, to hit the ground running. Antonio Brown's amazing. Heath Miller he's going to be your solid workman-like tight end. He's going to be good, but they need that huge second option. And really, I think that's Martavis Bryant. He's got to come back and, essentially be that very close to Antonio Brown kind of talent that he looked like in the preseason. Marcus Wheaton's great, but he's more of your kind of, post route, maybe take the top off the defense kind of guy, and he wasn't consistent last night. So I still think they're a good month away from being as good as the offense can possibly be. And, once Bell comes back, I think that will help as well. But they definitely need at least one more big passing option to open up things.
Well, I'll say this. Congratulations, Charles Robinson. You lived long enough to cover an NFL game where an assistant coach is accused of assaulting a fan, and it doesn't even come up because we're talking about headsets.
This is the craziest thing about that. I was telling everybody it's like barely a story. That's how messed up this season is so far. Any other year, this would be like the biggest story of the first game, and it barely even made headlines.
Welcome to 2015, ladies and gentlemen. Charles Robinson, check him out at Yahoo Sports. My man, thanks so much. I appreciate you joining us.
All right, thanks, Bomani.